Okay. Again, changing topics. Nandan, so let's talk about corruption. Right? You guys want to talk about corruption, right? Okay. Corruption has been an issue in the country for a long time now. But in the last couple of years, there seems to be a growing pressure in response to all these scams that have been unearthed. And you talked about technology or Aadhaar being able to address this corruption problem. And Nandan, you're one of the people who have always thought of systemic solutions to systemic problems. So what is the systemic solution to corruption?
Well, first of all, I certainly don't think having a super cop is the solution, whatever these guys were trying. So I disagreed with them, and it was a minority view, but I had to say what I had to say. I think, first of all, we have to distinguish retail corruption from wholesale corruption. Retail corruption is the millions of small transactions where people go to get a service and have to pay some rent or whatever you want to call it for consummating that transaction, right? So it's about if you have to get your pension, if you have to pay someone some money, or you have to get your PDS, or you have to get a birth certificate, or whatever. So that's where there are millions of transactions where the common man in his interface with some system is getting this thing. Wholesale corruption happens at a macro scale. It happens in land, spectrum, or natural resources, iron ore, coal, or in large procurement of deals, whatever. So wherever the government is at a macro level a buyer, a seller, a regulator, and where these systems are inadequate, you end up with corruption, which leads to crony capitalism, which has been the bane of what's happening here. So let's separate the two. I think the Aadhaar role is really on the retail corruption side. It can't solve that, the other one, the big stuff. That needs different solutions. So for example, let's take what we're doing in our BC network, right? We're creating a BC network which allows a beneficiary to go to any outlet, anywhere in the country, on an interoperable network and withdraw money from his bank account. Now, why is that important? Because in the old model, you got your money from one guy. So you had to go to this guy, and if this guy decides not to give you your money, if this guy decides to shut the door that day or decide, you're gone. Yeah. So the bargaining power in the current system is with the dispenser of the cash, not the beneficiary. In tomorrow's model, the money goes straight into his bank account, and he gets an SMS on his phone saying your money has come, and he can go to any outlet and get his money. So then the bargaining power shifts from the supplier to the beneficiary. So he gets empowered. So that's how we use technology to empower people, and so you can eliminate retail corruption on, say, money transfers. Now you still have to figure out, I can't say it. So I think the way to solve retail corruption is to solve it through that. The wholesale stuff is a different ballgame. It's to do with political funding. It's to do with building better procurement systems, better auction systems, and the political economy of that is a little more complex. But the retail one, I think, is really, and I think if we can solve the retail one, I think the common man's life will improve because he's going to see better interface. So that's how I think about it. I think of it as a systemic issue, and I don't think, build systems where it's impossible to be dishonest and very easy to be honest. That's it.
Yeah, I'd just add one quick thing to it. Yeah. I think in addition to Aadhaar, the other thing Nandan's sort of been a big advocate of is e-governance. I think that combination is amazingly powerful in what you call retail corruption. If you need a form, you should be able to get it without talking to a human being. Right? You don't have to pay somebody to get a form. You can submit it. Now you have auditability. When was it submitted? Who was responsible? Yeah. When was it approved? Why was it not approved? Everything's documented. If there's no human interface, it cuts down. So I think the combination of Aadhaar and e-governance offers a huge opportunity.
In fact, Mr. Chandrasekhar, who's here, who's done a great job in driving this e-governance, and his successor, Satyanarayana, they're really focused on that. For example, all electronic service delivery, everything will be electronically delivered. Every document will be, you can do self-service. You can go to a CSE and get your certificates. So a hell of a lot of work is going on there. We just have to get all these pieces together.
Right.